Hey everyone, in this video we are going to learn about what groupBy function in Lodash is and how can we implement our own groupBy function. So let's quickly understand what groupBy function is. So as per the documentation, Lodash provides us a groupBy function which takes a collection, that is an array of objects usually, or simply an array, and an iterative. That iterative can be a property inside that collection object, and it can also be a function as well. And the output of this group by function is an object ordered by that particular key which we passed as an iterative. So let's understand this with an example. So let's say we have a collection named obj here. It is an array of objects and each object contains two properties, car and color. And what we want to achieve here is group all these properties by their car name. So let's say here in this particular case, there are two objects with car name as Tesla and one as Ford. So in the output result, I should have two objects, one containing key as Tesla and containing these two objects as value, another containing key as Ford and object as this single object. So for that, I'll just write console.log underscore dot group by. I'll pass the collection as obj and iterative as the property car. By the way, to use Lodash in my JavaScript code, I have added the Lodash CDN here. So if we run this, we see that we get an object containing two properties Ford and Tesla, which were the car names. Inside Ford, we have an array with single object Ford, which was this one, because there is only one single object with car name as Ford. And for Tesla, we got two elements in an array since there were two objects present with car name as Tesla. So that's how group by works. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that this iterative, this key can be a function as well. So let's see how will that work. So for that, I'll write console.log underscore dot group by. As a collection, this time I'll provide an array. Let's say it contains values like 6.1, 4.2 and 6.3. And as an iterative, this time I'll pass a function. This function will be math.floor. So what it will do is it will run this particular function on all of these array elements, and if they were result with same value multiple times, they will be grouped inside a common object. So let's see what do I mean by that. So if I save this, go to the console, we'll refresh, you'll see we get output an object with key 4 which contains value 4.2 in it as an array, and key 6 containing 6.1 and 6.3. How? Because when math.flow runs, for 6.1 it converts it to 6, for 4.2 it returns 4, for 6.3 it converts it to 6. So for 6 we had two values. So these two values got grouped together inside this key value pair 6 and array with these two elements. And for 4 there were no other similar matching results, so it only contains one element in the array, which was 4.2. Now let's write our own implementation of groupBy method. So for that I'll write const groupBy. It will be a function and it will take two things, the collection, which I'll call it as values, and the iterative, which will name as key finder. Now this groupBy function will return us a single value. So to iterate through all of the values present in this values variable and return a single value, I'll use the reduce method. So I'll write return values dot reduce. It will take a callback function which will have accumulator and the current value, and it will also take initial value for the accumulator, which will pass as the empty object. Now inside this, we need to find the key. And as I mentioned that this key can be a function or a property as well. So we need to check whether it is a function or a property. So for that, I'll write const key equals to type of key finder. If it is equal to function, if this is the case, what I need to do, I need to pass this current element to this key finder function. Let me repeat it one more time. If this key finder is a function which was in this case math.floor, and using reduce I am getting all these values one by one, so I need to pass these value to this particular function. So our function is key finder and the value is current. Else if this is not the case, if it is not a function which was in the above case, if it is not a function, that means it is a key. And let's say in the current we have this object, and the key we have this property car, so we want to access the car property inside this object. So for that we'll write current at that particular key. Now once we got the key, we need to check if the key is already available in the accumulator or not. So if not of accumulator at that particular key, if it is not present in the accumulator, we'll insert it as a new array. So what we'll write, accumulator at that particular key will be equals to an array containing one single element, which will be the current element. Else if this is not the case, that means that this particular key is already present inside the accumulator. When this is the scenario, we need to push this value into the already existing array. So for that I'll write accumulator at key equals to, now I'll spread the already available array which is accumulator at that particular key, and I'll add the current object or the current element to this particular array, and at the end I'll just return the accumulator. So this will be a group by function. Let's try to run this. So what I'll do, I'll copy this, paste it here and comment the above one, and here I'll remove the underscore dot. So this time we are calling our groupBy method and passing the values which we were passing before. Now let's check if we are getting the same result or not. You'll see for the first case we got the same result, Tesla containing two objects, Ford containing one object, and for the other one, for math.floor case, we got the same result, 4 containing a single element in the array and 6 containing two elements in the array. Let's dry run this group by function with these parameters just to check how exactly we got the results. So initially, let's say for this particular case, when we pass collection as obj, this particular object, what would have happened? So initially accumulator would have contained an empty object. Key finder in this particular case will be our property named car. Then we go inside the function, we use the reduce method, and one by one each of these objects 1, 2, 3 comes inside the current variable. So the current variable initially will have this particular object here. Now we'll check the key. So this key finder in this particular case is not a function, it's a string named car. So this condition, this time what will happen, the key will contain current, which is this whole object, and the key, which is car. So inside the current object, at car we have Tesla. So this time key will be Tesla. Then we'll check if it is already available in the accumulator. No, it's not. So we'll add it, Tesla. So for Tesla, we'll have this whole object as a value inside an array. Now we go to another value. This time this second object will come inside the current variable. So it will be this. Key again will be Tesla. Is the value already available inside the accumulator? Yes, it is. So we'll push this particular object into the already existing array. So it will look something like this. Let me format the document so it looks more clear. Yep. Next, we'll get the third object. So accumulator, inside accumulator, we'll have this third object here. So similarly, just like last time before, key finder is not a function. So we'll get the property present at that key car. So at key car, the value present is Ford. Is Ford already present inside the accumulator? No, it's not. Currently, we have only Tesla. So what we'll do, we'll add another property to it, Ford, and inside an array, we'll pass this current object. Now we have looped through the whole array, and the final result which we got is this one. Now let's try to dry run our groupBy function again, but this time for the second scenario with the function mat.floor. So let me clear the first one. So let's see, when we pass values as this particular array and key finder as mat.floor. So let's write it here. Initially, when we get inside the function, our accumulator will contain an empty object. Current will be our first value, which is 6.1. Key finder will be math.floor, which is a function. So let's see, our first value is 6.1. We'll calculate our key. So we'll check if type of key finder is a function. In this particular case, yes, math.floor is a function. So what we'll do, we'll pass the current value 6.1 to the mat.floor function. So what we are doing, we are writing our function key finder and passing the value 6.1 to it. So it will look like this, math.floor, and passing the current variable 6.1. And it will return us 6 as an output. So our key will become 6. So we'll check if this key 6 is present inside the accumulator. No, it's not. So we'll add it. So for 6, we'll have an array containing the current element inside it, which was 6.1. Next, we'll get our second element, which is 4.2. So current will become 4.2. Again, we'll calculate the key. Our key finder is a function mat.floor. So we'll pass 4.2 to mat.floor and it will return us 4 as the output. This time our key will become 4. Now we'll check if this key 4 is present inside the accumulator. No, it's not. So we'll add it again. So for 4, we'll add an array containing 4.2 in it. Next, we'll have 6.3 as the current variable. 6.3. Now we'll again calculate the key. Here key finder again is a function, so we'll pass 6.3 to mat.floor and it will return us 6. So our key will become 6. So is key 6 already present inside our accumulator? Yes, it is. So instead of this time running the if condition, the else condition will execute. So we'll push the variable, so we'll push the value 6.3, our current variable, inside the already existing array at that particular key 6. So here along with 6.1 we'll have 6.3. Now we have looped through all of the elements of our array and this will be our final result. So this is how we can implement our own groupBy function. Hope this was helpful. The link to the code will be available in the description of this video. Thank you for watching.